As governments in Africa, we have roles to play. We have to be able to transmit the resources we have into areas that will enhance productivity and generate employment for the masses. We keep churning out graduates from institutions. And some of these graduates read marketing. And I know that in marketing, you do a research first to understand what the market wants before you produce what they want. But here, the universities just absorb graduate students into courses they have without looking at what do we need in the economy. And I think we have to go back to all of these things to make sure that the population that we talk about going to 1.1 billion would not be a problem for us in the future. So I'm not saying that we don't need big multinational institutions, but they won't solve the problems for us. We need to look inwards, both from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire, wherever it is. We have to work inwards and engage ourselves. We have equal income inequality and redistribution. People are ready to invest, but sometimes we need to open up the environment, the economy, and remove the impediments to business so that people can come. The likes of people coming into Africa today are still the big institutions. You have medium-sized institutions that can still add a lot of value, that are still staying back because they are not convinced yet. So the enabling environment has to be right, the rules and enforcement rights have to be improved upon, and the governments also have to lead by example across the whole of Africa.
I want to ask, what is your bank doing to extend products to those that were previously neglected?
I think Bank leads the Nigerian environment in doing that. We have mobile money products, which means that we have products targeted entirely at people who do not have bank accounts, and they don't need to have bank accounts. We call it First Money. Simply by having a telephone number with a GSM number that has a unique number, that becomes a unique identifier. And it's done so well that I'm very happy to say that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation just gave us $8 million as grants for us to, after doing due diligence and just to make sure that we use that to deepen the market penetration. We have the largest branch network here in Nigeria, going to about 800 branches. It's the biggest branch network. We have the biggest retail franchise and network. So if you compare First Bank with the others who are just niche players, you will give it to us that we've done a lot and we'll continue to do a lot.
Thank you. I don't know if anybody else has any more comments to make on the panel before I open it up to the floor.
Maybe I would just like, to give something more to what has been said in the changes of consumer in our countries. When we gained the independence in the early 60s, there was, let's say, 70% of the population living in rural sector. Now, the case in Cote d'Ivoire, 51% of the population live in urban area. So that's a big change. I take another example. Mobile phone was introduced in Cote d'Ivoire in the mid-90s. There was about 100,000 consumers. We are 24 million people living in Cote d'Ivoire. Now we have 20 million subscribers.
Yeah.
You see the change?
Yeah.
That's it.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
Well, just linking those, take Mozambique as a very interesting country because it's got 80% of its people working in agriculture, but that only represents 30% of the GDP. And what you see in Mozambique, I think, is this ability to look at agriculture and digital corridors, development corridors, to try to look at how you can help use the growth in things like mobile subscriptions, the M-payments, the providing information to farmers to help improve the productivity on the land as a way of, if you like, combining some of the core needs around agriculture with modern day technologies to accelerate sort of growth rates. And I think that that's what we're going to see more of in Africa going forward. So it's about how you join up, how you integrate. I think some of the opportunities Africa's actually got to leapfrog, I think, what's going on in many other parts of the world.
I'd just like to add that from my own experience and from studies that we have done, I haven't seen a foreign institution that has come into Nigeria and I guess some parts of Africa and have packed their bags and left. I just think that, no, and that is true. We know some of these multinational institutions who, even when they make so much profit, by way of dividends, they take them out and they keep smiling to the bank. And I'd just like to say that this is the right time for anybody to come in. Institutions and organizations are already taking positions. You have government divestment of assets in various sectors of the Nigerian economy. And I just guess that if you don't do it now, it might be too late. Mohammed mentioned about taking position in his own company 17 years ago and is reaping the rewards today. So if you don't take those opportunities today to come and invest in Africa, some other smarter institutions, he's here. I'm sure he's not here just for the World Economic Forum. He has told us he's going to some other parts of Africa. He's investing, taking positions. This is the time to take those positions.
I just have one comment to make, and it can be a question. It could also be a comment that the audience can react to. We've spoken about agriculture being one of the major drivers of Africa's growth. We talked about the informal sector. We spoke about the youth. However, when we speak about these demographics, the majority of these are the 51%, which are the women. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on how inclusive growth can benefit the majority, which are women.
Well, maybe I can come in and it touches basically also on what BC said earlier about small business. The Goldman Sachs has this 10,000 small business, 10,000 woman initiative that's been running for quite some time, and Africa's been at the center of this initiative. I had the joy of presiding over a couple of the graduation ceremonies of these women that had been effectively organic small businesses that had gone through a semi-MBA 6-week program through Goldman Sachs, twinning with universities. We did that with the Lagos University, for example, in Nigeria. And then when you sit with these women and you talk to them about what are the biggest problems that they have in developing their businesses going forward, and obviously skills and development is part of that, and they found a lot of benefit from the 6-week course. They talk about the infrastructure issues as their biggest obstacles. So they say the single biggest cost outside of labor for these small businesses in the 10,000 small business group was power infrastructure. So the cost effectively of electrification for their business, and that is the reason of the cost of diesel in Nigeria and the need for diesel-fired power. So if we were able in Nigeria to effectively build the power sector, and I know the government is undertaking reforms, but they have yet to execute effectively on bringing that to market, growing the power sector and bringing the price of power down. Those are the ways in which actually these businesses are going to be practically affected and encouraged. So I would just say what we saw with the 10,000 small business initiative was fantastic entrepreneurial capacity, fantastic initiative, incredible women that were driving effectively these businesses that were the only source of income for them. But they need a lot of help in the society to get those businesses to really hum.
I have 3 daughters, and my youngest is 22 years old. And I'm not joking. 4 days ago, she was sitting with me asking me some advice. She does some designs and she sells on the net. And I said, no, whatever you produce, if it takes 3 weeks to satisfy your customer demands, why don't you produce some stuff, keep stocks, take a little bit of risk. But let me ask you this, before you take any risk, how much do you have in the bank? She said, $300,000. I said, how much did I give you to start your business? She said, you didn't give me anything. What I want to tell you is that, first of all, we in the Middle East, supposedly where women have no right. Men have lost. They are educated, they are aggressive, they are strong, and even if you look at, I'm sure, universities in Africa, you see the percentage of women who come out of universities is astonishingly so much higher and better quality than men. Because of that, I think women's place in the Middle East and in Africa, I don't know about the rest of the world, India probably, is really going in the right direction. And we see, I would classify that we in the Arab world, maybe in the stable Arab world, which not many, I would say that maybe we are 7, 8, 10 years ahead of Africa. And education have changed women's position, women's strength, ability. And listen, I think women are just so much more hardworking than men anyway. That's why my mom, You know, I'm the eldest of 13 kids. And my mother